For every Overwatch New Hero release, like for Overwatch Hero 31 and the upcoming update, the community gets excited about who the next hero could be. Will Hero 31 and Hero 32 be Mauga, Junkerqueen, Echo, Demon, be Omnic from the Storm Rising cinematic, or someone totally different from the Overwatch lore? We never really know until the first teasers, but it doesn't stop us to wish and dream about it. So to facilitate every Overwatch New Hero release anticipation, I give you the ultimate new hero candidates tier list. Alex here on Overwatch Limbo, bringing you a true community experience to learn, improve and grow together as better players. So if you're new here and want to keep up with Overwatch news, events and other workshop updates with no messing around, consider subscribing and hitting that bell icon to make sure to be notified of all my future content. Now about that new hero candidates tier list. How are they classified? It's very simple. I looked at 6 defining factors: name, drawing, lore, 3D model, abilities and confirmed. If a potential hero has 5 out of those 6 criteria checked, then they will go in rank S. If they have 4 out of 6, rank A, etc. All the way down to rank E, where I'll put some of the early stage development hero concept arts, and actually let's start right away with those. Blizzard worked on a lot of hero concepts prior to the beginning of Overwatch development for Project Titan that has been cancelled, and the pitch meeting of Project Prometheus that will later become Overwatch. This panel is coming from that meeting, and we can recognize a few of our Overwatch heroes like Reaper, Tourbillon, Mercy, Winston, Symmetra, Genji and Tracer. Names and abilities are all mixed up though, to the point that some of the heroes currently in-game are in this picture under a different name and appearance. So here's the quick overview of the concept arts that abilities inspired current heroes. We'll come back on this panel in the next tier, but first let's look at this hero lineup piece of art. Again, we recognize a few of our heroes, with some of them in their early ideation like Widowmaker down here, Hanzo with the codename Huntress here, what could be Doomfist here, or less obvious Reinhardt here with a design called Wild Beast and Fire over here. But some heroes are totally unknown to us. We'll talk about these two more in depth later on, but right now let's take a look at these 3. Heroes that we never heard anything about. Only this one has been present in another artwork, this early Overwatch art direction, but Blizzard never cared to tell us who he is or was, and if his concept has been abandoned. Note that a few more heroes appear in the background of this picture. Most of them seem to be there to fill the ranks, but some people thought they could recognize a few portraits from Winston's recall animation. Not that it would make any difference, since they all look very plain and transparent, much like regular soldiers. Let me add that it's not because some of the heroes of these early concept arts have never been mentioned before in the lore that we will never get to know them or get them as heroes in the future. Look at Echo. She's been there since the beginning, and we just learned a bit of her story in the Reunion Animated short at the last BlizzCon. So don't overlook these candidates, they could be the next Overwatch hero. Let's jump to tier D, and first I wanted to highlight 2 Overwatch heroes, Soundquake and Fusionator, that are only mentioned in the cinematic trailer by Timmy.
That was so cool! In that one battle they had Soundquake. Remember, he has like chest missiles? So which one's your favorite? Mine's Fusionator.
Then let's go back to the Prometheus meeting panel and let's look at all the heroes that have no resemblance both in look and in terms of abilities to any known hero. There's some interesting stuff here, and that makes us wish Blizzard could release more heroes per year. But there's one that Chef Kaplan have talked about a few times, and it is Mama Hong. He even said that about her.
I would say next to Hammond, Mama Hong is the second most controversial hero on the Overwatch team, where there are different camps of whether or not Mama Hong is allowed to be a hero. I am very much in the pro Mama Hong.
Which of course tend to push the idea that Mama Hong is a strong new hero candidate, even though we know pretty much nothing about her except for a possible ability named Manslaughter. In this panel, we also have a few heroes that have been recognized in other artworks. MacLeod, for example, whose inspiration comes from the late 20th century franchise Highlander, and its punchline, "There can be only one," appears to be depicted in a painting of King's Row. Frick, that reminds a bit because of his posture and trashy look Junkrat, can also be seen in the cinematic trailer here, and the word Frick is even written on this guy's jacket. And Helio is also one of the portraits in Winston's database during the recall, and an obvious hint that Keanu Reeves will eventually join Overwatch. Finally, it's worth mentioning two other very intriguing characters. The first one is Sojiro Shimada, Genji's and Hanzo's father who's supposedly dead. But who knows, he wouldn't be the first one to come back from the other side, and it would fit into Sombra's conspiracy wall missing portrait near the Shimada's crest, and explain who this guy is calling when attacked by Hanzo. The second one is as enigmatic as Sojiro since we don't have a name for him, just a few representations. The community calls him the Mohawk guy, an early Overwatch member that joined Talon along with Reaper and Moira. The only thing that has been confirmed by the devs though is that he's not Liao, one of the 6 founding members of Overwatch. Alright, let's move to Tier C, and come back to this guy, the Pompadour Yakuza. The only thing that we know about him is that he doesn't despise Omnics, quite the opposite. Pretty thin, isn't it? But the guy is still quite popular amongst the fan. Might be the reason why he got himself a Lego version. Anyway, next up is Leona Botruvio. She's an Omnic artist and you know her work pretty well because all of the art pieces in Rialto's first attacking spawn room are hers. How could an artist become a hero, you might ask? Well, if a hamster can turn into a war machine, I can see why an artist or an accountant couldn't. In fact, the Overwatch community is so eager to catch on any possible teaser, people even thought at one point that Emre Sarıoğlu could be a new hero. But he's only been mentioned once in this tweet from Play Overwatch, and all we know is that he's a Turkish soldier member of Overwatch and that he participated to Operation White Dome in Istanbul alongside Ana, Torb and Ryan. Way less than what we know about Abdul Hakim, another character without a face that has been talked about in Bastet's short story and Ana's Old Soldiers comic. Hakim is the typical crime lord who profits from people's misery and has ties with Talon. He tried to catch the guardian angel of the Egyptian people who was sabotaging Talon's operations, but failed even with Reaper's help, and eventually got caught by Ana. This bit should remind you of Baptiste's short story, What You Left Behind, where Baptiste gets to save the people of Haiti from the unscrupulous ex-Overwatch informant now tied with Talon, Vernon Sinclair. Another name thrown into the mix that could reappear in Overwatch story later on. But become a hero? I mean, he's not that less of a candidate than the very anticipated Dr. Chow, a character that has references on the Lijiang Tower map as the CEO of Lucheng Interstellar. We know that Dr. Chow spent some time on the Horizon Lunar Colony with Dr. Harold Winston, and that he or she came back crippled.
Don't forget, Winston, you need to be mindful of your bone strength, especially if you're going to be bouncing around like that.
I've been taking my supplements.
You spent a lot of time on the moon. You need to take it seriously. Remember Dr. Chow?
I wonder how she's doing. It can't be easy running a giant company.
Last I heard, they were working on a new space station.
But the mystery remains concerning their appearance, gender, and ties with the Overwatch team. And you know how much unique looks are strong incentives to stimulate the community's imagination. Take for example the Omnic from the Storm Rising ending cinematic. In a few seconds he became the #1 candidate to be Hero 31, even though the only thing we know about him is that he looks cool and that he fights for a cause. Alright, before digging deeper into the hero candidates tier list and talking about the most well-known characters of the Overwatch lore, let me remind you that all these characters can eventually become Hero 31, or Hero 32, or any new hero that will be added to Overwatch. It doesn't matter how much information we have on them, Blizzard could keep them in the dark until their release. But I'm really curious to know who's your favorite hero, so stick until the end where I summarize all the heroes of this list in one big chart, and leave a comment down below to tell me which one is your favorite and why do you think he, she or it could become a great hero. Also, if you enjoyed the video so far, make sure to hit that like button and share it with your friends to help me grow this channel into a true community asset. Back to the list and tier B. And here we have a lot of characters that don't seem very suited to be heroes, but since we know their name, a bit of lore, and we saw them in comics a few times, they've been mentioned here and there whenever Overwatch is supposed to get a new hero. There is also at least 2 characters that have been represented in animated shorts that could also potentially become heroes, even though it seems unlikely. First is Taehyun, Diva's friend in Shooting Star, and the second is Balderich von Adler, Reinhardt's mentor and Crusaders captain who falls on the battlefield of Eichenwald in honor and glory. His armor and body rest on the throne of the Eichenwald map Last Point. But what if Talon retrieves the remains in secret and somehow reanimates the old soldier and transforms him in a whole new thing? A creature, a machine, something that will serve Talon and be the first of a new generation of Dark Crusaders. In other words, the Talon tank we all wished for. So much trouble to get what we desire, huh? At this point it would be easier for Talon to steal the whole mecha squad and paint it in black, don't you think? Diva's partners always been strong candidates to become new heroes after all, seeing especially in Demon and her mecha Beast an opportunity to get a tank that is even bigger than Reinhardt. Talking about giant robots, there's another person who could pilot a huge armor of metal in the Overwatch lore, and that's Sven, Torbjorn's old friend who started destroying Boklova, the capital of Kyrgyzstan, before getting stopped by the old Overwatch Hero. But to be honest, no need for an armed titan to destroy a city. Recluse seems to be able to do that all by herself. She was represented in all the hero lineup artworks before disappearing from the Overwatch initial casting. What happened to her? Her mouth-beam ability has even been represented on this picture, along with what seemed to be the summoning of mechanical minions. Is it too much for Overwatch to handle? What's obvious though is that 3 Overwatch soldiers that we know a bit about are nothing special in terms of appearance compared to Recluse, and that's Kimiko, Mirembe and Singh. They look more like cannon fodder and sacrificial lambs for upcoming PvE missions than actual playable heroes at the moment, which doesn't mean they can't get an upgrade like we'll see with Sojourn in the next year. On the other hand, someone like Liao seems way more appealing. Okay, we don't know for sure if that woman is Liao, but Liao has been said to be one of the 6 founding members of Overwatch, and this woman was the 6th character represented on the cover of the cancelled 100 pages graphic novel named First Strike that was supposed to tell the story of the formation of the Overwatch Strike team. So Liao must have been in it, right? Anyway, enough with the good guys. The lore has also a few villains that could fit nicely into the game. One is obviously Nguyen, the talent analyst that we saw in action in Bati's short story. Another one is Link17, the Omnic hacker that helped Zarya track Sombra. And the last one is Sanjay Korpal, a pitiless Vishka Corporation official that is secretly in league with Talon. All seem to have a background and the personality to join Overwatch cast, but none got the hype that had Jetpack Cat, a hype that Jeff Kaplan failed to shut down, alimenting rumors with his declarations more than anything.
I said we were never making Jetpack Cat.
No, I could never be like
never, ever. That would be so ridiculous. It would be like adding like a hamster or something.
In fact, since Brigitte's Origin Story release, Jetpack Cat is one of the most anticipated heroes, and until it joins the fray, it will remain a mandatory candidate to all new hero releases. And comes tier 8, with characters that we know a lot about and we've seen pretty clearly. 3 of those are actually far from being fighters, at least that's the vibe we get from their appearance on screen. Indeed, Dr. Harold Winston, Maximilian and Katya Volskaya don't seem to ever have seen a battle before. But let's be honest, Mercy would also give that impression in civilian outfit. The Talon leader Antonio, on the other hand, looks like a warrior. Even though he doesn't defend himself from Blackwatch attack, his body type, personality and position in Talon support that idea. Is he really dead? Or will he come back in another form like Reyes did? Plus, this guy on those 2 posters could also be him. Another mystery hero. But that would be the last one. All the heroes remaining have been clearly introduced and even confirmed as future playable characters. Take Sojourn for example. We didn't know her name until the last Archives event and the first teaser of the event.
Trust me, they'll get it done. Sojourn out.
But the Overwatch captain in charge of the Storm Rising mission have been seen before in Winston's Recall and a few artworks. She's a good example of how much a character can evolve from their initial flat look to something more visually attractive. Now, with her voice actor already chosen and the confirmation from Jeff Kaplan that she will be a hero in the future, the community is wondering what kind of hero will she be and when will she be joining Overwatch cast since she won't be Hero 41. The same questions could be asked about the Queen of Junkertown, also called Junkerqueen. Jeff pretty much confirmed that she will be a hero at some point, and she's definitely one of the community's favorites since her character's introduction in August 2017.
This is your queen.
And since we learned through this Twitch clip that she is, exactly like Wrecking Ball, a former gladiatorial mech champion.
The Queen is a very charismatic former gladiatorial mech champion.
Which brings us to the top tier of this list. There's two heroes that we haven't talked about yet, but are probably the most logical candidates for Hero 31 and Hero 32 positions right now. The first one is Mauga, Baptiste's all-talent partner that everyone's been talking about in the last few weeks. I made a video explaining why I don't think he will be a Hero 31. It's right here and in the description below. So go check that out if you're interested in my explanation. But maybe Hero 31 has already been teased or even been released when you watch this video. So you might be more interested in who Hero 32 or Hero 33 will be. Well, in that case, I believe Mauga is definitely hero material. We know a lot about his personality, his look, his affiliation, and even his abilities. So he's without any doubt a character we'll see again in the future. And Jeff Kaplan actually confirmed that.
We introduced some characters from Baptiste's past who have very unique personalities and backgrounds who may or may not become bigger parts of the Overwatch universe in the future as well.
The last hero we need to mention is Echo. This mysterious figure of graceful design immediately charmed the audience. What is this thing capable of? And why is it so important to Overwatch? Well, we'll know all about it sooner or later since the devs confirmed that Echo will be a hero, even though Jeff Kaplan said it won't be Hero 31.
Echo is amazing. She's awesome. She is not the next hero.
Her original concept art is named Iris and highlights abilities that then have been attributed to Lucio and Zarya. So we don't really know anything about her skill set, but her previous codename could be a reference to the Iris, a key element of the Shambali faith shared by the late Mondata and Zenyatta. In fact, they believe that all beings ascend through the Iris to a higher state of being. Could it be? Anyway, the community is very excited about Echo's role in the Overwatch story and its powers as a hero. It shouldn't be long before we get to know more about it. So, have you made your choice yet? Which one of those characters is your favorite hero? Vote for your preferred next hero candidate in the poll up here and tell me which ones are your favorite characters and why in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and share it with your friends. You'll help the channel a ton. And if you want to keep up with the latest Overwatch news and updates, consider subscribing by clicking on the logo right here and check out my latest content over here. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, remember losses, losers are, not your mind.